Today we're going to talk about survivor's guilt. I don't know if you've ever been in a mass shooting and there are casualties and you are a survivor. Or maybe it was a car accident or a boating accident and there were casualties and you made it. You lived through that incident. You're not going to hear me say that I know exactly how you feel. You're not going to hear me say that. I do have a passion for differing true crimes, and my passion is to find like individuals that do know what it feels like, and I love to study the Bible in search of those so that I can bring them to my YouTube channel, and it will be something that you can connect with. Someone who knows exactly what you went through and they know what it's like. That's what I actually did as part of my healing process. I wanted to find people like me. True crime entered my life in 2012, and all of a sudden, my life had changed. All of a sudden, I had to live my life with a new label, adult daughter of the perpetrator. And so, when I found like people in the scriptures, other adult children of the perpetrator, that really made me feel at home. It really made me feel at ease. And so that's what I like to do on this True Crime Bible Case series that we're going through. And so even though I can't connect with this curveball of life, I know someone in the Bible who can connect. And this person is David. David is talked a lot about in the scripture. In fact, we're first introduced to him in this famous Bible story, David and Goliath. And the part of his life I'm going to focus on is found in 1 Samuel chapter 27, chapter 29, chapter 31, and 2 Samuel chapter 1 and chapter 9. And, we're introduced to David in this famous scene of him and Goliath. And then after that, God gives him a job promotion. He is to be the second king of Israel. He doesn't take this job promotion and it's a smooth transition. It's a smooth working into this new job. No. He has to wait roughly 15 years before he can start his new job. You see, his predecessor, King Saul, the first king of Israel, he's still living. Okay, it wasn't like the first king died and then David was on the scene. The first king was still living, but he was supposed to switch over. His time was done. He was supposed to switch over his chain of command to the next king, King David. But he didn't. He made this very difficult for David because King Saul didn't want to change over that command. He didn't want to, what he saw as losing his power. That's what he saw it as. And so he made everyone around him, their lives, very difficult. You see, he slapped a dirty label on David. He was creating these lies so that he could gain support for people on his side. And so he was saying that David was trying to take over the throne. He put David on Israel's most wanted list. David was a fugitive. David was in hiding for those 15 years. He was trying to survive. And this was a very dark time for David. There were people who didn't believe that dirty label of him being a fugitive, of him being on that dirty list, Israel's most wanted. They saw past those lies. They saw the truth, and they helped David stay alive. One of the instrumental men who helped David stay alive was Jonathan. Jonathan was King Saul's son, and he helped David stay alive. Towards the end of these 15 years, David is in hiding, and there is this battle that David is supposed to be fighting in. In fact, he's on the Philistine side. He's supposed to be fighting for the Philistines and just trying to stay alive, keep himself alive. And at the very last minute of this battle, the general says, David, you're not going to be fighting. You're not going to be fighting in this battle. And so David doesn't fight. And at the end of this battle, David finds out the casualties of this battle. One of the casualties of this battle was Jonathan. Jonathan, his best friend. I was supposed to be in that battle. Why couldn't it have been me instead of Jonathan? The other casualties of this battle was Jonathan's dad, King Saul, and also Jonathan's two brothers, Abinadab and Malchishua. I don't know if I pronounced that right, Malchishua. And I know there's another Abinadab. David has a brother named Abinadab, but this is not that one. This is Jonathan's brother. He had a brother named Abinadab. And so King Saul, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua did not survive that battle. And David is now removed from Israel's most wanted list, and he is now king of Israel. And this is a very difficult time for David because he is going through the massive loss of Jonathan. You know, the Bible doesn't have a lot of emotion in it. When we read about people showing emotions, I think we need to pay very close attention to these parts of Scripture because it really gives us an insight into what the person was feeling, and that's very important for us. And so we know that David, this was a huge loss for David, for the loss of Jonathan. And how we know that is you have to remember that David also wrote the book of Psalms. He wrote some of the Psalms. He wrote Psalm 6, and I'm going to read Psalm 6. And this was written during the time in which he had suffered this loss of Jonathan. Now, a great resource that I use when I'm studying the Scripture is this chronological list of when the books of the Bible were written. Because, you know, as we know the books of the Bible, Genesis being the first and Revelation being the last, they weren't written in that order. And so I have a list in which the books of the Bible were written, and that's my go-to when I study Scripture. And so I can look up and see which Psalms were written and what David was going through during that time. And I will put that link in the description below. And so this chronological list, we can see that Psalm 6 was written during this time. And we're going to read Psalm 6. O Lord, rebuke me not in thine anger, neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are vexed. My soul is also sore vexed. But thou, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver my soul. O save me for thy mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of thee. In the grave who shall give thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All the night make I my bed to swim. I water my couch with my tears. Mine eye is consumed because of grief, It waxeth old because of all mine enemies. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity. For the Lord hath heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord hath heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all mine enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. Let them return and be ashamed suddenly. So this is a lamenting psalm, and you can see that at the beginning, he's going through, we talk about this exchange of the spirit of heaviness with the garment of praise, negativity for positivity. And you can see that he is really feeling that spirit of heaviness. He is being truthful. He's talking about, is there sin behind my suffering? I'm suffering. Is there some sin that I committed? He's talking about how his bones and his soul are vexed. He's going through physical and emotional distress. And it's very visual when he's talking about the crying, the tears. He's really feeling that. And he's showing that in this psalm. Another place that he shows that he really did think a lot of his best friend, and in fact, this was also his brother-in-law, Jonathan, is in 2 Samuel chapter 1. 2 Samuel chapter 1 is known as the Song of the Bow. And this is what David had said that I want this taught. I want the little ones to learn this. I want this to be in their daily educational routine, and I want to make it known of how valiant and brave Jonathan was as a soldier. And he's not only including Jonathan in this, but he's including King Saul in this. And so I want to read in a part of this, 2 Samuel 1, verse 26. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women. They had a very special bond, friendship kind of a bond. And when David assumes his first day on the job as being king, they have this big coronation service for him, a big celebratory time. And isn't it through those milestones of life that we miss our loved ones the most? And David was missing Jonathan. I'm sure he was thinking, in all of this festivity and celebration, none of this would have happened without your help, your support in helping me during the darkest time of my life. During this celebratory service, King David receives this amazing gift. This gift came from another king, one king to another king. King Hiram, he was king of Tyre. And what this gift is, it wasn't something that you could unwrap and it's a present. This gift was huge. This was a brand new house. He provided the materials and the labor, all for free, for a house that David could enjoy. David could actually live like a normal person now. He is not living in caves. He's not in hiding. He is not fearful of losing his life anymore. He can actually settle down and have a house. Well, he enjoys this house, and he enjoys it so much that he shares this house. He finds out the surviving members of Jonathan, and he finds out there's only 2 family members who are still living from Jonathan's family. They're Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, and Jonathan's grandson, Micah. You see, Mephibosheth was a single dad. He was also a paraplegic. And David found out where these two were living, and they were living with other people. And the other people weren't really taking care of Mephibosheth. And so David is using his power as king to make this right. He has the people who are living in King Saul's house out, and he has the rightful inheritance of this house, the rightful owners of this house, to come live in his father's house. So he has Mephibosheth, he has Micah moved into their grandfather's house. And he also has help for Mephibosheth. Help to get around the house, help in the garden, harvest in the garden, food. And David also tells the help that I want Mephibosheth and Micah to be at my dinner table every single night in my new house. He was taking care of the surviving family members of the deceased. And I'm sure at this dinner table, because Mephibosheth and Micah have lost their family members, and I'm sure that they are, David is treating them as his own family. They're there with his sons and daughters, and they're there. And I'm sure the conversations at the dinner table were about Jonathan, keeping that memory alive. David wanted to let Mephibosheth and Micah know what a wonderful dad and what a wonderful granddad that they had. And so what can we learn today from this exchange, the spirit of heaviness for our garment of praise? Our garment of praise is mentioned in Isaiah chapter 61. And so what can we learn from David of how to battle survivor's guilt? Number 1, give yourself permission to cry out to God. That's what David did. I think we think that the spiritual thing to do is we just don't even do that. We don't even go through that process of grieving, crying. In that Psalm 6, it was very descriptive of the tears and the volume of tears that David shed. And I think it's very important for us to give ourselves permission to go through that, to grieve. That spirit of heaviness is going to be with us days, months, years. That's okay. But we don't want to be stuck in that. We don't want to be stuck in that. And the second thing is David remembered the family members of the deceased. Now, David was in a very unique position as king, and he was able to, provide so much financially for Mephibosheth and Micah. But it can be in the small things of remembering the family members of the deceased, ministering to them in a very special way, remembering their birthdays, or just, sending a birthday card or going for a visit. However, it could be tailor-made, because I'm sure that was medicine for his soul, for David's soul, to be able to do that and to keep Jonathan's memory alive. Well, that is my spiritual food for you to munch on the rest of the week. I can't wait to see you next time.